All right, you guys, we're back. All 52 podcasts. Just 2 out of the 3 members today. Sean, Brian, aka Unc. What's going on, man?
Hey, how you feeling, man?
Man, life is good. I can't complain. It's nice and sunny. It's 80 something degrees over here, so I cannot complain. How about you?
For sure. Sports is back in session and full throttle, almost full throttle. We're still waiting for NBA and such, but man, it's a good time to be alive.
Yes, definitely. That's the right mindset to have. A great time to be alive. Any day above, anytime you wake up is a blessing. All right, so we're gonna get right
Absolutely.
into it. Javon's not here, so we're not gonna do the clickers with each subject because I don't know how to do that. That's Javon's expertise, but we're just gonna go subject by subject and I'll lead in. All right. So we're gonna start with the Canelo versus Bud fight this past Saturday. Woof. We talked about a little bit off camera. That was a masterclass. So Brian, you go first and then I'll give my thoughts in.
Yeah, so I was thoroughly impressed by Bud Crawford. Like you said, master class. He totally um, went in with a focus, knew how he wanted to attack Canelo, and executed flawlessly. Um, what was impressive is the fact that all of the buzz going in was Canelo's punching power, and he didn't really show it. I mean, he had a few pretty good shots kind of mid fight. Maybe round 5 was so they gave Canelo 2 rounds, right?
Yep.
And I personally think he really only won the 5th round. And that was the sentiment of amongst those who I was watching with. um, he won that 5th round because he changed. He finally got to Bud, but immediately in the 6th round, he readjusted and he got back on his horse, being Bud Crawford, and he just took over. My opinion, he never gave Canelo the opening he needed to really get into the fight, to really wear him down. It was just phenomenal to watch.
Yeah. I thought like the aggression that he showed was like, first of all, you got to give the man credit to move up 3 weight classes to fight at a weight that
Right.
you're not comfortable fighting at and haven't fought at. To do that, that was special. That was special, and especially um, the magnitude of this fight. Canelo, him getting the Saudi Arabia people involved. The money was big. Like
Sure.
it could have been just like a regular exhibition because either way, they're both walking away with crazy amount of money. But he
So
put up.
did you hear the numbers?
No, I
So,
didn't hear
and
those
I don't,
numbers.
I haven't validated it completely because then I heard a alternate number. Initially, I heard Canelo was getting 100 million as opposed to 10 million for Bud Crawford. Huge gap.
Wow.
Right, which is crazy, right? So Canelo, win
Wow.
or lose, he's winning, right? But uh, yesterday after the fight, I heard Crawford got somewhere closer to 50 million. So that at least makes me feel better. Still a gap, which that's a whole nother story. But agents work their magic. Uh, but I mean, yeah, we're talking phenomenal numbers. International reach, being on Netflix. Do you like that? Do you like the fact that it wasn't pay-per-view?
Yeah, like I'm over the whole pay-per-view thing because first of all, what's Netflix now? Like $15 a month, Amazon Prime, $12, $13 a month. People are
Hmm.
paying monthly for these things. So they're making the money up in and I think it exposes anyone like if you're just driving or you shouldn't be driving. Let me take that back. If you you're out and about, you can just download the app and still watch the fight. I think it's an
Sure.
amazing thing. I think wrestling's done it well. I think the NFL when they do it, like I love the what was it, the Chargers versus Chiefs on Friday. It was on YouTube. I would just have my
Hmm.
phone and I'm out playing pickleball, but I'm watching the game. It just makes more sense because the age of people just coming home to sit down and gather to watch a pay-per-view or on just on TV. We still do it, but there's so many different ways to actually watch sports now.
Sure, and I agree with that. The exposure to your casual fan, I think
Me,
that's the thing.
yes.
You've got your marquees, your diehards for any sport, but now with the advent of streaming opportunities and streaming options, you're going to catch that casual fan. My wife, who is absolutely not into sports, I mean, she kind of is by osmosis, being in
Yeah,
my sphere, but
yeah.
uh, on her own would never consider sports, right? but she
Yes.
could easily jump on Netflix as she's a Netflix junkie. She watches a lot of shows there, so they're always advertising the sport, the live sporting event. She was aware of it, right? And so
Oh,
she said, "Oh, we could have watched." I went and watched with the boys, but
yeah.
she could have easily watched it, and that's the beauty of it if she wanted to, right? And
It,
if you capture enough of those people, you engage them long enough, they become fans.
they become, and I consider myself a casual boxing fan. I'm not. I definitely don't know probably as much as you and Javon with boxing. So I'm more of a casual, and I probably I'm
Mhm.
not. I'm gonna be honest. If I was home and it was 2015, 10, or whatever back in the times, would I have paid the $70 to watch the fight? I would not have watched the fight. I would have gone
Right.
somewhere if they showed the fight. Then yes, I would have watched the fight. But would I stay in my home and turn on the TV and press the pay-per-view like we used to do in the back in the days? I would not have done that. So I do agree
Right.
with you. The exposure of the fight is, I saw the numbers, was like 40 something million people or something crazy
Sure.
amount of
Yeah.
people.
70,000 in the building, and then yeah, international reach. Just yeah.
Yeah,
I love it. I
yeah,
love it.
I
I want to
think
capitalize. I want to put on an event.
exactly. You get on Netflix, ooh, just by if you
Whew,
get 1% of the audience of that, all the
absolutely.
subscribers. And I saw people get like just transition a little bit about the NBA. People were complaining about all these NBA games, so I'm not gonna. But you have the streaming sites. Again, I do think it's a. I wish the NFL was just on Netflix, or I just wish NBA was just on YouTube TV. I don't like that you have to pay for 7 different streaming sites.
Yeah.
I think that's ridiculous. That's
Everyone has
that's
a piece of the pie. Well,
yeah,
when you think about it, it's revenue sharing. So you don't want a monopoly because then that would inflate cost, right?
yeah, yeah.
Because if if everything was on Amazon, right? So then they could justify ballooning it because of the cost, right? Because everybody's leaning that way, so they're gonna make the most bang for their buck. But if you spread it, then it keeps costs relatively low, right?
Yeah.
And so it's an inconvenience, but it's a necessary inconvenience in this regard.
Okay, that makes sense. I do like the like I think I don't know what the Jake Paul Tank Davis fight is going to be on, but probably Netflix or something like that. But I do like stand
Likely
for
Netflix, yeah.
yeah, not lightly Netflix. I do like standalone things like that one-off NFL game or the Christmas NFL game, the Black Friday NFL game, or these boxings. I don't
Sure.
mind it being on one because we all are going to one network, if that makes sense.
Yep, one platform and everybody's jumping on. Yeah. So, but
Eh,
yeah, the one-offs. But yeah, to make it, yeah, it would be a convenience if a whole season or however their distribution of games to a particular streaming. But um, you know, I, I'm okay with it. This is one of
yeah,
those changes that I don't have enough pushback on.
no. I feel you on that. And most people have Netflix, Amazon Prime. Just by again, I order a lot of Amazon stuff, so I have Amazon Prime. So it doesn't really
Mhm.
matter
Yep.
what the fight. So I get that part. All right. So any more thoughts on the Canelo Bud fight?
No, it's great. Now I'd ask you, again, you're a casual fan. Should they do it again?
Whew. I would say yes in this aspect. Fight from my casual fanness. I love back in the day when fights were like sequels, trilogies, things of that nature.
Yes.
Look, that's how the boxing. Again, you correct me if I'm wrong. Was built on was like we seen Ali and Frazier fight multiple times. Like,
The
and
Ali Frazier saga, the
yes,
Hearns Hagler,
yes,
Sugar Ray Hagler,
exactly.
yeah, lots of legendary sagas, I'll say, because there were sequels or trilogies. One of my favorite is Gotti Ward, Arturo Gotti and Mickey Ward, and those two guys used to get in the middle of the ring and just slug it out for 2 minutes. I mean, and I would be like, man, and this was like late rounds, like they're kind of feeling each other out. They get in the middle of the ring in the like last 2 rounds and just go blow for blow,
It's
and I'm
just go
like,
both of
how in
them.
the world?
Yeah,
But it was beautiful, right?
yeah,
You don't
yeah.
see those rivalries, those sagas anymore. So I agree with you. However, as I think about this one, I don't know what would change or improve or would be different. That's my only concern. Like, some fights where you watch the first one, you're like, if they did it again, it could be different. I
Yeah.
really don't. I think Bud Crawford is in such an elite class. He's such head and shoulders above. Canelo's he's a great fighter. Take nothing away from him, but I just don't think they're in the same class personally, and he
So
showed it.
it definitely showed it, but this is my whole thing. And maybe and correct me if I'm wrong. When I think about like sports, if you do it once, I want to see you do it again. It's like you win a champ, the Oklahoma City Thunder, we'll just use that as an example. I'm
Sure.
not saying it's easy to win a one championship. It's hard to win one, but to validate you, sometimes we want you to do it again. And then we're like, oh, me and Javon, prime example, the Dodgers, and that season shortened Major League Baseball COVID season, they won the World Series. And we both said
Hmm.
for years, yo, you won a 50 game, 65 game World Series season, blah, blah, blah. You need to do it again to validate that world championship. And they did it again
Sure.
last year. So that it validates that 2020 World Series. And I understand the parallels are different in sport, and that's individual sport to a team
Yeah, it's
sport.
a little different because it's team sport. So the climb and the journey is different, right? Because you
It's
got so
totally
many
different.
moving parts. Yeah. Um. I can respect that. Like I said, if there were glimpses of Canelo, let's just say, just going back to the fight, he showed some signs late in the fight, and he just was down on points, right? And it was closer on points, but he won unanimous, which suggests that he dominated, right? And
Yeah, he
so that's
dominated.
my concern. Like there was no knockdown, there was nothing to suggest Canelo had a chance once we got past that fifth round. My opinion.
Yeah, it was a domination. So you're basically saying it wasn't a great enough fight for a sequel.
My
Okay,
opinion.
okay.
Yeah, I mean they would draw because of the names. I just from a pure boxing standpoint, watching the fight the way I did, I just don't see where it would be um the value for Bud Crawford to get in there and do it again. It's like beating your little brother in a game of basketball. You're going to beat him most times, right? Now, if there's a transition, you understand what I'm saying? Your little
I know
brother, but then when he becomes taller than you or closer in size, then we're talking potential, right? We ain't there yet.
you're
There's
not there
still
yet.
Big Bud, little Canelo, in my opinion.
But you think if they said so? I look at things like I've been saying this for years. I told Javon, I was like, Dana White needs to be in control of boxing, and I know they're planning
Yes,
to do something. I
they're
think
working on
so.
it.
Yeah, they're working on it, right? And so I do think that, like, first of all, if I'm Bud, the only way I'm going back into the ring if it reverses, I'm getting the 100 million and he's getting the
Right.
50 million.
Yep,
Then that makes
for sure.
sense to me. Why wouldn't I take 100 million and I'm that much better of a fighter than him?
Yeah.
Like
I
I'm
mean, he
taking the
has
100.
nothing to prove, so it would be a money grab. At this
It'll be a
point,
money grab.
for that to be a sequel, it would be purely for the money, what they can draw. I don't know if they would do the same numbers. I mean, I guess if the platform's still Netflix, you're wide open. The world's watching. Uh, I just don't see the value. My
Yeah,
opinion,
but
but
I like that the balance of us because one's coming from a casual, you're coming from like, hey, I know boxing. That wasn't even. I just saw ass whipping to be honest with you, but I didn't know the technicalities. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just watching it as
sure,
a
sure,
casual,
sure.
and I would get into boxing. I can't lie though. I would get into more boxing like I did UFC if there was more big name fights like UFC built themselves up to.
Yes,
That I think that was the value that UFC dug into. It's kind of like he captured in the wrestling model. Hey, Triple H versus Stone Cold, SummerSlam, WrestleMania. I think
right.
those for casuals turns those into regulars if you have more big name fights. And that's just my thought process on
That's a
that.
good perspective.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna go over to the NFL, the Chiefs. So the Chiefs
Hmm.
dropped to 0-2 to start the season, lost in a physical defensive game to the defending world champions who have beaten them 2 times in a row and kind of dominated their offense twice in the Super Bowl and on Sunday. What was your thoughts about the game?
Uh, yeah, the Eagles definitely have the Chiefs number, which
Mhm,
is amazing to think about, considering the dominance that the Chiefs have shown and displayed for the last 5 years, I would say, or so. Just really being now, everybody pump your brakes. The Chiefs are gonna be fine. I
mhm, mhm.
promise they'll be in it when it matters. There's this guy there named Patrick Mahomes. I'm sure barring injury, he's going to figure some things out. There's a coach there named Andy Reid.
Yeah.
He's done this before. He's going to figure it out. So for everybody that wants to, sound the 5 alarm bell, relax. It's week 2. They started 0-2, and respect to the opponents. The Chargers, they're no slouches.
No,
This
no,
will be
no.
a good year for the Chargers. And the Eagles are the Eagles. And so they're riding the wave, right? So I don't have any concerns on the overall picture. Now micro, let's break it down. What are the Chiefs' problems? Well, they have no real wide receiver threats. Travis Kelce is aging and not motivated, my opinion.
Ooh,
You know,
ooh.
yeah. So he's aging. He's not. Well, would you be motivated if your wife was Taylor Swift, one of the largest entertainer figures in the world? You've won multiple Super Bowls. You're at the back end of your career. You've got other interests, podcasts with your brother, tons of endorsement opportunities. I mean, you're playing the game you love, but you're not hungry, right? You're
Yeah,
you're not
he's
a
not.
you're not a young player trying to get the bank. You've already
No,
done all of this. So he's
he's
not
already
motivated.
established. Yeah, he's not
He's
already
very
established.
well established. He's already, he's not motivated. And he would say otherwise, but you can see it. You can see
Yeah,
it. The concentration is a little bit, different. His aggression on the field is different. He picks and chooses his spots. He's doing what Gronk did, which
yes,
I get it. I literally see the same thing. And Gronk held on perhaps a little too long, and it started to show his decline was not gradual; it was rapid, right?
it was
And the
rapid.
same
Yeah.
thing's going to happen with Kelsey. Is he still serviceable? Absolutely, but
Mhm.
I just don't think he's motivated. And so my point is that's the safety blanket. But right now he's also the primary target because other than Hollywood Brown, who I like, I wish the Ravens would have kept him. I don't know why it didn't work out here in Baltimore, but he's not a number one
No,
at all. So
no.
at this point, he's not a number one. And so based on that, uh, you know, they're in trouble if they don't figure that out. The hope is that Pacheco and the running game get going, but you know there's gaps on the offensive line, so I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure how great they'll be. They'll be in the fight. I just don't know how legitimate it is to consider them big dog anymore.
Big deal. So I would say this. I agree. I'm not jumping off the Chiefs bandwagon, even though do think the AFC West will be tougher this year. The Chargers, I watched them last night, and I've been a fan of the Chargers since last year. Actually, Vaughn, I love Jim Harbaugh and the mindset he brings to a team. And I think Justin Herbert, if he could have a coach who's a little tougher on him with the talent level he has, there's no reason he should be in. We should be talking about a big 5, not a big 4, with those 4 best quarterbacks, and he should be in that conversation. And the Raiders will be a formidable, even though Geno Smith was horrible last night. Oh my gosh, he was horrible. He was bad. And then, Geno, they have to find their quarterback in the future over there. And then
Absolutely.
Denver's Denver. I think Sean Payton and their defense will be better. The Colts embarrassed them the other night. But so the West is tougher, but also Rashidi Rice is out, and who else is out? What's the kid's name? Worthy. Xavier Worthy is out.
Yeah.
Let's see them with all their weapons. But if they're going to play like they did last year, and I know we've been saying the demise of the Chiefs for the last 2-3 years, but no one in the AFC has been able to knock them off except for Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals at one time to prevent them from going for like 6 straight Super Bowls. I have to see it. But based off what I've seen so far, I think the Bills and the Ravens are a class of their own, even though the Ravens lost to Buffalo. I think those two teams are in a class of their own. Because even when the Chiefs are healthy, I don't know if even Patrick Mahomes, maybe a lot of football they play a lot more football than anyone else over the last 6-7 years. It doesn't seem like he's as explosive. I like that he's using his legs more often to run, but it's just something about I don't know if the teams have caught up to him. They just don't look the same.
It appears that the aura, the shiny, the shine on Patrick Mahomes, I think, is fading off a little bit because, like you said, some of the other marquee QBs are catching up.
Yes.
He was so far head and shoulders when you looked at the division, when you looked at the conference years prior. I mean, it was really Brady and Mahomes, and Brady was on the tail end, so there was a changing of the guard, right?
Yes.
That was Manning Brady for a long time. You sprinkle in a Ben Roethlisberger, uh, you know, but they were the class, and then Brady Mahomes was the class, and then Brady's gone, and then it was just Mahomes kind of by himself until those other quarterbacks started to grow into dominance. If Burrow could stay healthy, he'd be in that elite conversation, and he still is, but man, he can't buy a break. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah,
uh
we'll talk about that next. Yeah.
yeah, I think right now, like you said, you know, going into the season, everyone said Bills Ravens is the preview of the AFC championship game anyway, and so uh, it did not disappoint. And
Yeah.
so by that, it's like Mahomes has to squeak his way, find his way in. Not that it's impossible, because I've seen him do some tremendous things in the playoffs. It's just going to be a long uphill, but maybe that's part of the mystique that makes his legend even greater. So we'll see. Time will tell.
And, and he's one of those guys with the championship established. Him always in the postseason, you're always gonna be scared of Patrick Mahomes. Like
Sure,
it's like
I don't want to.
Brady.
I don't want to play them.
No, you don't.
Even a hobbled Chiefs team can still be dangerous, and
Exactly.
that's the legacy of an Andy Reid coaching. Uh, you know, that's his coaching ability, right? And that's the legacy of Patrick Mahomes as a player. Both Hall
Absolutely.
of Fame, guaranteed Hall of Famers in their own right. So, hobbled, not at full throttle, they're still dangerous. And
Oh,
certainly if they get all engines going,
oh.
look
All they
out.
have to do is get into the postseason. That's that team. They've earned Patriot status. I remember in
Yes,
2018, the Patriots were the fourth or fifth seed. Everybody was saying the demise of the Patriots. They weren't. They beat the Chargers. I think they beat Tennessee, and then went into Arrowhead and beat Patrick Mahomes in their first eight. And then they went to the Super Bowl, beat the Rams. Like they have that mystique that I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. So am I? Oh,
precisely.
but I do think this, and you touched on it. I was thinking about this yesterday. I'm like, man. Oh, after Sunday night, I'm sitting here. I'm like, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback because of the things he's done. But right now, I would take Lamar or Josh Allen over Patrick Mahomes. I thought about that afterwards. I'm like, it's crazy to say that. I would, and I would take Burrow if he could stay healthy. If right now, like today, but
Yeah,
postseason wise, I'll take those guys. Him, obviously.
you're taking Mahomes. So
Yes.
I'll say this. Um, and here's the shock value take. I'd give if Patrick turns things around tremendously, leads them to a division victory, win the division, top seed in the playoffs. Give him the MVP because he's doing a
Ooh,
lot with less. Give him the MVP. He's doing a lot with less. You know,
okay.
Josh, we talked about in one of our previous podcasts. Josh Allen did a lot with less the year he won, right?
Good point.
Lamar was cooking, but he had talent, he had weapons galore. So my thing is, I value MVP as most valuable, means this doesn't get done without you. That's the way I translate MVP, right?
Okay.
Now, others have a different opinion. They think the best person that's doing it on the best team. That's kind of redundant. Literally, MVP, most valuable player. If you if you take this, if you um, don't insert this player into the lineup, the team struggles.
Yep.
So that makes an MVP, in my opinion. Well, if Mahomes is not at the helm, KC is Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, yeah. With that offense, that the defense is good, but the offense is just they have no big play
Right.
capabilities
There,
at
there,
all.
there there's nothing, and he's the engine because he has dynamic, playmaking ability. He's got tremendous ball skills. He's headstrong. so he's going to make good decisions. The problem with him now, currently, is he's inaccurate.
He's inaccurate, yeah. But
And
it's
he's
also
inaccurate because he's got to overthink it. You know, you mentioned he's using his legs a lot more. That's because he's on the run for his life a lot more. That
I was just gonna say
offensive
that.
line is
Oh,
is not what it used to be. They're not
no.
dominant right now, and so if they can't figure that out, yeah, it's going to be a long season for him. It'll be successful most likely, but it'll be a long season.
I will. You got it. You got me thinking about that now. If he can come back, win the West, even if they get to a 5th seed or something, but like 12 wins with that offensive line, that's bad. That offensive line is not good. That offensive line is going to be
at all.
No, that'll be the demise of them if they don't win the Super Bowl. A team will dominate them like they did last year in the Super Bowl. And Mahomes was able to put up solid numbers with the supporting cast around him. Yeah, I have to have the same argument I had for Josh last year. He is going to do less, more with less. And if they get if they win the West over a Chargers team that I think is going to be really good, then yeah, right. I can't really disagree with you. You changed my mind on that one. That's a good one. I didn't think about that. Like but he's got to do it. Like, and they're already 2 games behind. Yeah, and let's see. And they're going to get a couple weapons back, but for him to keep him afloat, they're going against the Giants this week. They should beat the Giants.
What's their schedule look like? I haven't looked at it in a while. I mean, they've got that and the reason why there's a fighting chance because Baltimore has a gauntlet. Baltimore has a gauntlet of a schedule. You know, they're my favorite. You know, not I'm biased obviously, but just from the strategic, you know, the logistics, X's and O's standpoint, I think Baltimore is the team to beat between them and Buffalo. But my God, Baltimore has a tremendously challenging schedule. Yeah, it's brutal. And so I don't think KC's is as hard. Which
I'll break it down for you real quick. Okay, well, I'll just break it down.
It.
So they face the Giants this week in New York, Sunday night game. Then they face the Ravens next Sunday afternoon in Kansas City. Then they got Jacksonville in Jacksonville. Then the Lions come to KC. Then the Raiders go to KC. Then the Commanders come to KC. Then they got Buffalo in Buffalo. Then they got the Broncos in Denver. Then the 2-0 Colts come to Kansas City. And then they got Dallas. And then they got the Texans. Then they face the Chargers, Titans, Broncos, and Raiders. So the back half of it is not as tough because they could beat the Raiders. I don't know. The Broncos defense this year hasn't been as good as I thought, but whatever. The Titans can war. Then they got the Broncos, Chargers, Texans, Cowboys.
There's not a lot of for sure they're gonna crush them kind of opponents on there, but there are a few they probably will win games, right? So I just look, you know, I still think it's possible. We don't know what the Raiders will pan out to ultimately, although I'm not there's low expectations for me, even with the fact that Pete Carroll is there. I think, you know, they're rebuilding, they're planting seeds for, you know, future. The Titans are, you know, bottom feeders. The Colts are surprising, but how long that'll go, you know,
who knows?
The jury's out. You know, the jury's out.
But they could definitely start the season 1-3 because I see them beating New York this weekend in New York. But then I'm gonna say it straight up: Baltimore should not lose to this version of Kansas City at all. If you're that team, you cannot be 0-2 against Buffalo in the Chiefs this year. Like I just don't see it. Like you have to go into Arrowhead and win that game next week. No questions asked.
Well, you know, I agree with you. The problem is John Harbaugh is still the coach of the Baltimore Ravens. While I have all the faith in the world and the talent on the field, I have zero faith in John Harbaugh.
I gotta be honest.
Time and time again, he has proved himself to outthink himself and get outcoached.
I have to be real. Anthony Weaver, I was reading something that they're saying if Mike McDaniel gets fired, he's like a head coach in waiting down there in Miami. I still think, and this goes on the head coach, because you pick the coordinators. Zach Orr has proven to me he's overwhelmed with the talent level they have on that defensive side of that football. He should not be a defensive coordinator. And that's
It
why
was too soon.
it's too soon. I'm scared. And if it looks like Kansas City is a dominant offensive performance by Kansas City, I'm off the Ravens bandwagon for the Super Bowl if Orr's still going to be defensive coordinator. Because I don't see with that talent level why that defense is in big games play so poorly. I just in giving up a lot of points, a lot of yards, too much talent on that
It's
defense.
schematic. It's totally
Yeah,
schematic. It's totally schematic. Yeah, Orr was a decent linebacker. But I just think it's too early for him as a defensive coordinator, personally. You know,
yeah. I
and
think it's too early. Go ahead, my bad.
no, you're good. So,
Yeah,
I tend to agree with you. The Ravens should be a Super Bowl contender, but that is the asterisk. What is that defense going to do? Now, I'll say this: Week 2 looked like uh, Pop Warner. There was a lot of points on the board. Uh, you know, Teams that won, average 25 points or more this week. Will that continue? I'd like to say probably not. First week we're all pumped up, juiced up on adrenaline. It's the season's back. It's a long layoff from when it counts. Week 2, you start to get some sense of where your team is. I'd say we get closer to um, Halloween, and we
okay.
really get to the sense of where teams are going to kind of start uh, panning out,
Like
because
defensively.
injuries will be defensively teams will have had enough practice, had enough repetition to really get a gauge of where they are, and
Okay.
I think that from that point on you begin to see what your defenses are going to look like.
The only thing I would say is this, and we'll move on to the next subject.
Hmm.
The NFL. This is just my little take, real quick, my little rant. NFL. I know you want scoring. You protect the quarterback. You do all this stuff. The kickoff, I don't like it. You get basically, if it's a touchback, they're only at 30, 35 or something like that. You're basically
Yeah,
encouraging scoring. And it's like you devalue the game by doing that. Like you already put the defense at a disadvantage all the time with all the rules. Now they get to start at the 30
sure.
yard line, 35-yard line. Like, so that's my only thing. I want to see how I see what your point is, but I think the league with the new kickoff rules in with the touchback rule, it's really hard. You're only defending 70 yards of the field, not 80 before. Or if you get
Right.
someone back in it, it's harder
And
to
then
play defense. Yeah, pinned in. It's
yes,
just I just don't like it. I just think it's another way to devalue defense. And it's like, come on.
it is. I don't know that they will change that, but I do
No.
agree. You know, defenses are not going to be as dominant. Now, defense still wins championships because I think uh, coaches are still smart enough in this league to take away a marquee weapon.
Yep.
Particularly when you're talking about the playoffs, you've got to be able to run the ball when it counts, right?
Mhm.
Um, I'm wearing a Panthers shirt just because it's laundry day around here, right? I'm not a Panthers fan, but it's laundry day. No, but seriously, I watched that game. It's not on our rundown, but I watched that game, and the Panthers actually had a fighting chance to get back in the game and win. Uh, but poor management of the play clock, poor management of their decision making in that last possession. uh, they got an onside kick. They got some favorable calls for like pass interference, roughing the passer, and still could not put the ball in the end zone. Could not only not put the ball in the end zone, could not get a first down. Uh, last play of the game, I think he wound up getting sacked or turnover, something to that effect. It was awful, right? But that's the Panthers being the Panthers. But my point is, if you put most legitimate teams and legitimate quarterbacks in that situation, they would have scored
There was
or at least had a fighting chance, right?
yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I don't know if you watched the Monday night game last night.
Some
the
of it.
Stroud and Mayfield. It was a low scoring game till the end, and it still was like 19
Mm-hmm.
to 14 or something. There's still levels of defense that still can be played. It's just I think that NFL has put a disadvantage to the defense even more than they do now. You can't even touch a guy past 5 yards. It's like you can't even touch the
Right.
quarterback. Like it's just crazy. All right, so let's go to the quarterback injuries. So we have JJ McCarthy, who was horrible on Sunday night. That's my guy, but he was horrible. What ankle sprain, high ankle sprain, 2 to 4 weeks he's out. Joe Burrow, the best out of the guys. I thought the best quarterback last year. Turf toe out for 3 months. Justin Fields came back to earth this week, excuse me. Out for I don't know how long, but he's out with a concussion. Purdy's still out, turf toe as well, 5 weeks. And then Jayden Daniels, they're saying something with his knee. Didn't say if he's going to play this Sunday or not. So what's going on for the NFL and all these quarterbacks injuries?
Miles sprain. Yeah. This bug hits every once in a while. I'm a little bit older, right? So I go back to, I think it was 92 or 93. All the marquees got hurt, but the problem in that year, they were all season injuring. Marino was hurt for the year after like the first game. Randall Cunningham, I believe Montana went down. Hence, Steve Young was playing, and there was like maybe one or two more. It was like, I think Sims went down and hostile. It was one of those just when it rains, it pours kinds of seasons where it's like, well, who are we watching? All the primary quarterbacks went down in the same year. I'm not comparing by any stretch. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is sometimes it's just that avalanche of, man, all the quarterbacks are getting hurt. Now, based on what we just talked about, it's not defense, not all defenses just smashing our quarterbacks. Some, these turf toe injuries, right? It's freak accidents, freak incidentals, right? Some of the guys on that list, a Fields, a Daniels, they're scramblers, they're mobile, so a lot of times they're putting themselves in harm's way or exposing themselves to the opportunity to be hurt because they're more mobile, right? So that
Yep.
happens. You kind of gotta take those to bad if that's your style of play. Uh, I'm concerned for some of these teams because um, backups, aren't elite anymore, right? In my opinion, there are not
No.
many backups that are setting the world on fire. You know, once upon a time, you could watch a backup come in, like I referenced it, right? Phil Simms goes down, Jeff Hostetler takes them to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
You've seen that happen before. Kurt Warner's story, right? Sean Green, was it Sean Green? Sean Green goes down. Kurt
Trent
Warner
Green.
leads them
Trent
to the
Green.
Super. Trent Green, thank you.
Trent Green.
Um,
Yep.
and so once upon a time, Tom Zach, whoever was in front of Ben started. Remember his rookie year, they went 15-1 because the starter went down. That doesn't happen anymore. I just
Nah.
don't see us in that era right now because backups are kind of you know clipboard
Backups.
holders for the most part, right? Legitimately backups,
Legitimate
right? So
backups. Yeah.
yeah, some are serviceable. You may get a game or two, right? But there's nobody setting the world on fire. And so by that, and then some teams are so bad in terms of their backups, it's like, oh boy, particularly those that have high hopes. Daniels with that knee, I think last report was it's not serious. So yeah, he's questionable, but he probably will play. Um, Burrow, obviously, that's the big one. That's the big injury. McCarthy, I don't recall who their backup is offhand, but um, I imagine so much of their scheme and game plan was built around McCarthy, particularly this being his first year, really under center, considering last year was a loss. So it's going to be interesting. And like you said, he wasn't looking that great. I don't know what's going to improve with a backup, right? So I'm
Yeah.
concerned for Minnesota, who has um, some playoff, expectations. So uh, by that account, we'll see.
We'll see. So I would say this: out of the teams that all these guys get injured for a long time, the two teams who could suffice and still make a playoff run are the Bengals. Because I saw someone say this, and I agree. My girl is from Ohio, right? So she's a big Cincinnati Bengals fan. So we watch a lot of
Hmm.
Bengals. Browning is capable. He's not Joe. He's not Joe Burrow at all. We're not even in a conversation. But he's capable of keeping them. And I was looking at their schedule. And now that the Vikings are without McCarthy, I do not like Carson Wentz or whatever. I think the Bengals win that game. So as long as you could keep in Burrow, they say maybe if at best he'll come back mid-December. So I was looking at their schedule. If they can be 500 or a little bit above 500, that would be, it makes sense for Burrow to come back and play. And they still have a chance. Right. So I look, and their schedule is not hard. That's why I actually, before the season, I had them win 11 games in Baltimore, win 11 games. Do I think Cincinnati's on the same level as Baltimore? No. It's just their schedule is not good. It's easy because remember they finished in 3rd or 4th last year in the division. So the division, the schedule is easier. So I do think they have a chance based off their schedule to sustain and make a playoff run with this quarterback. And when Joe's ready, still be a viable option to play. So that's one. 2, and this is all straight based off coaching. Kyle Shanahan is one of the top 5 coaches in the league. Mac Jones, against, I know the Saints will be picking in the top 5 this year. I don't like the Saints at all. I haven't won like 3 games this year. But Mac Jones still looked like, wow, he could be a serviceable NFL quarterback on Sunday. And Shanahan wanted Mac Jones, but then they took Trey Lance. If you look at Mac Jones, he looks like a Kirk Cousins who's thrive with Shanahan, Brock Purdy who's thrive with Shanahan. Like those type of quarterbacks who are not athletic really, or like not the greatest arm strength or whatever. Shanahan, his scheme, he'll make it work with any quarterback. I'm a big believer in Shanahan and what they could do in San Francisco and sustain. Are they better than the Rams? No. I saw the Rams on Sunday. I'm watching it and I'm like, man, that's my Super Bowl team. And I feel very confident about that team. That team defensively might be the best defensive team in the league. That front four.
Green Bay may have something to say about that, but I get your point.
You get what I say. Green Bay might have. Green Bay and them are on fire to start the season defensively. I'm very impressed with those 2 teams defensively. So those are the 2 teams I think can sustain and still make a playoff push into their franchise quarterbacks come back. The other teams, Marcus Mariota, I've seen enough of him. Commanders, you better hope that it's only maybe a 1 or 2 games miss.
Right, at best.
He's not doing it. Who else? Let me look at the list. Definitely Justin Fields. The Jets are not going to be good anyways. So regardless of who the quarterback is, they're going to be in the race for the quarterback. Yeah, either or. I think they're going to have fight like they showed the first week. I was surprised how Buffalo came up there and embarrassed them like that. And then the Vikings, McCarthy looked bad. And again, like I just said, I don't believe in Carson Wentz. So I believe in Kevin O'Connell. So maybe he does magic and makes Wentz looks like he did magic with Sam Darnold. So who am I to judge him, right? Or question. Let's see. Proofs in the pudding. But I have to see it. I have to see him with Carson Wentz because Carson Wentz, he ain't never been the same since 2017 after that injury.
He is definitely not what he used to be. He's not Joe Flacco. See, Joe Flacco still had some brilliance left in the can.
Yes.
We clearly see that is all gone. The can's empty now, right?
Oh, yeah. It's done.
You know, and that's curious. Why are they holding on? At this point, let the young guns play. What is your rhyme and reason? You know, I'm just not sure there, right? There's a lot of curious QB decisions in the league. Some have panned out, some are not, right? So I look at Indianapolis, like there's definitely something we're not getting behind the scenes that Richardson is falling out of grace.
Yes.
Daniel Jones is the reason that they're 2-0. There's definitely something going on there. You can say there's a reason Daniel Jones didn't thrive in New York, but suddenly looks like, a Pro Bowler, right? So there's always these behind the scenes stories. And I'm curious on that one. Time will tell. I don't know what's going on with Cleveland, as I mentioned, because Flacco, serviceable. And if you were considering being playoff contenders, it makes sense. He's a veteran. He's viable. But is that the expectation there? No, let the young guys play. Let the young guys play.
I'm not a big fan of this. If I own a team, I was blessed to own a team. You're competing for a title or you're rebuilding. I believe in that. I don't believe in the middle. Like that's just it's hard. Like even in real life, there's the poor and there's the rich. Most people in the middle class want to get to the rich, right? Like it's most of us want to get there. So right. So that's the goal. I don't believe in trying to just be a 90-18 to make the
Yeah, that's
playoffs.
not a
I don't believe that.
strive, right?
No.
That's a fallback.
Yes.
Exactly. I
It
agree
don't
with
make
you there.
sense. It don't make sense. So that team, the Miami Dolphins, people who are delusional if they could contend. Like Cleveland, you're delusional. I know you had that one year when he won 11-5, you made the playoffs, but that's not sustainable. That was 2 years ago. He's 39 now, and not everybody's Tom Brady. Not everybody's going to
Right.
age like Tom Brady did. So
Precisely.
I'm just So I'm not a big fan of that. So I look at things like this. If I'm the Haslam's, I'm like, all right, the next 2 years are supposed to be a good quarterback class. Let's build. Let's see what we have with Gabriel or Sanders, and if we have the quarterback here, fine. If we don't, we have 2 opportunities over the next 2 drafts with a bunch of draft capital to go find the guy. What is Joe Flacco playing going to do to find the guy? It
No,
don't make
it
sense.
does nothing. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It's
I
same.
don't see.
And not to cut you, I know Russell Wilson had an amazing game, a stupid turnover at the end, but amazing game on Sunday. But I gotta be honest, Jackson Dart would have been playing from day one for me because I gotta see if he's the guy. And I understand Dable and a lot of these guys are fighting for the jobs. The fans, they're all fighting, so they're like, we gotta win now because I might not have a job. I get that, but if I'm the owner,
Mhm.
I'm saying from the owner's perspective, it's like, hey, I need to see these guys develop, and I'll give you a Milliken, and I'll let you have a year to develop them. If I don't see what I like, I'm gonna let you go. But you got to see what you have in the young quarterbacks. It just only makes sense for teams
Sure.
that are not going to be contenders. The Giants are not going to a Super Bowl this year. you
Right.
gotta play the young kid.
So there's conversation here in Carolina, uh, uh, about Bryce Young. Bryce Young, he looks like my 5-year-old sometimes under center, and my 5-year-old does not know the game of football. He doesn't even watch with me, right? He's into soccer. So
Yeah,
my point is, Bryce Young, for the fact that he came out of the Alabama uh, program and factory, he looks clueless at times. Sometimes he looks legitimate, but then there are a lot more times where he's like, I don't know what I'm doing here, and I don't know how to make this right. So if that's your your franchise quarterback, and there's not much behind him, you know, the conversation, as I mentioned, is, do we bench him? Why? It's not going to get any better, so you might as well just let
play
this
them.
play itself out, and
Yeah,
then consider, if this ain't it, this isn't his year. Now you said you go and you get that quarterback, and at least let him compete, or bye bye Bryce Young, whatever the case is going to be. But yeah, there's a
I'm a
lot of, like I said, there's a lot of
lot of.
curious
You're right.
QB situations.
And real quick before we switch subject, Bryce. I've seen Bryce start the first 2 years, and actually, I told him I was like, the Caroline's my sneaky team, might sneak up to win like 8 games, like Arizona last year or 9, because I like how they finish off, and I like how Bryce looked the last 4 weeks of the last season.
Sure.
I don't know what's going on because I look at the first 2 games this year, and it's like he reverted to him before he got benched, and I'm like, if I'm Carolina, Jacksonville, I believe you like look at what Baker's doing, what Donald's doing, even Jones. People take time to develop, right? But
Sure.
some people might develop in another system in another city. Bryce, if he doesn't show levels of improvement this year, I do bring a quarterback in next year to compete with him. I do, because at the end of the
No
day,
question.
we got to figure this out here because we're like, is he showing the improvements? Based off the first 2 games, I see regression. I didn't see. I was like, yo, I think Bryce might have it. He might have just took time. But again, I'm not saying he needs to be a world beater or be Tom Brady, but I need to see improvement. And I've seen regression the first 2 weeks against
Agreed.
teams.
It's awful.
Jacksonville, yeah, Jacksonville and the Cardinals are 2 teams that might push for a playoff contender, but this is not the Ravens. This is not Buffalo. This is not the Eagles. And he looked bad. I gotta be honest. I'm very
He
disappointed in this
makes
side.
Bryce, and I don't want to beat up on the kid, but the offense, let's say, the Carolina Panthers offense makes every defense look like the 85 Bears. And that's just ridiculous. I mean, every team's not dominant like that.
Oh man. Um, he said 85 Bears. That's crazy. They don't have any weapons. I don't, and that's a we'll talk about this off air, but my only thing is actually, I'll bring it up to you real quick. We're on quarterbacks. I have a big believer in this. Why doesn't teams multiple years take quarterbacks in the first round? I don't see the point. Like if I'm the Saints, they took the quarterback in the second round. There's Stroud, the guy they think might be the quarterback of the future. If I get a
Mhm.
top 5 pick this year, I'm taking a
You do it
quarterback.
again.
I'm doing it again because
because you're trying to load up and figure out, as
yes,
opposed to taking one and figuring out. You're playing the numbers game.
I'm playing another
Um,
game.
so I'll say, I'll play devil's advocate. The owners are playing the numbers game. That's costly.
Good point. Good.
That's
It is
costly.
costly, but
That's
the
costly.
thing, it is costly. But the only thing is
It's
that
logical, but it's costly.
it's costly because quarterback's going to get paid the highest out of,
Sure.
like, especially when you get first round picks. But my thing is Miami. Tua hasn't proven to me that he could stay healthy enough. And even when he plays, I think he's soft. I would have got my quarterback. But the thing is, they already paid Tua. Those first 4 years before you give him a $200 million contract is important. So that's why with the Carolina Panthers, I'm dead serious. This year, Bryce has to show me something within the next 15 weeks. If he doesn't, I'm going to get my quarterback this, because Bryce is still on a rookie deal. I don't have to give him $200 million yet.
That's right.
And
Right.
that's why.
So that's
That's
one of
my
those
theory.
situations where, no, that legitimate. That's sound. I don't think they will. Unfortunately, I think they're gonna let this thing keep burning. But David Tepper has shown that he really just does not have a mind for football, and that's a frustrating thing. Now we'll see how much he lets Dan Morgan really take football operations by the throat. I just think he's got such a stronghold. Tepper is quietly becoming Jerry Jones Jr.
Oh gosh, and that's a bad thing because
That's not a good thing at all.
that's not a good thing. All right, so we're talking well, that's ACC area. So let's go transition to the ACC. So Clemson, I'm kind of mad. I had an opportunity to go to the Georgia Tech Clemson game, and I didn't realize it till that morning. It was in Atlanta, downtown. I was like, I should have gone to that game. It turned out to be a really, really good game with Georgia Tech, who should be in the top 25 this year. I haven't seen it this week. Excuse me. I don't know if it came out yet. I think it comes out today. Beat Clemson. So now Clemson has 2 losses to start the season. A lot of people are high on them. What's your thought about the ACC as a whole? What's your thoughts on Clemson? And go from there.
Clemson is kind of like the Chiefs. I don't know that it gets better. The difference, the Chiefs, I think they'll right the ship. I'm not sure about Clemson because there's a lot of competition in the ACC. This is probably one of the more competitive years for the ACC that I've seen in quite a while. I mean, for so long it was just top heavy. In the years of the Clemson's been just the benchmark for so long. There was a point where Florida State was upper echelon. Then you scatter in kind of the next three or four teams or so. Sometimes it's Miami. At one point it was Virginia Tech, but that's kind of where we've been for the longest time. But now at this point, it's starting to grow. That bucket of teams that are legitimate is starting to expand, and I like it. I think it's good for football. The parity, only makes things more exciting. More reasons to watch on Saturday. Yeah, I heard this conversation on the sports talk radio. The regime, the Clemson aura and dynasty that was in place, it's over. I think it's over. Right? They're far removed from their last championship and title game, a few years removed. I think Dabo has the ability. He's still a great coach. I think he has the ability to retool. They've got resources there financially. They can go and get elite players. If he changes his mind on the portal, really kind of buys into what it is and what it can be. I think they can retool and reload, get the right players in place, and turn this thing around. I'm not worried about them, but I think current situation with Clemson is not pretty, not looking good.
No, they have to win out and get a lot of help. But the class of the ACC is Miami. Miami's that team now, and this is Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes' best chance to be back in the national conversation as a legit championship contender. So they look dominant against South Florida on Saturday. They've looked dominant the first couple of weeks. Defensively, they're special. And Beck, he's grooming himself to look like a really solid NFL prospect. He's looked good the first couple of weeks. Let's see him throughout the totality of the season. But so that's the one thing. To Clemson, this is my thing. I'm watching the game. I think I texted this in our group chat, and I'm like, what made K. Klumnik this top NFL prospect? Like, I understand when people see someone, they're 6'4", they got the big arm, blah, blah, blah. Well, every time I see him, I don't see anything special. I've never seen anything special. And I see people on the draft boards that have him below ahead of Nussmeier from LSU. I'm like, Nussmeier can make all the throws. Like, yeah, I don't see
and
and
has
I've seen
proven
it.
it.
And he's
Yes,
proven it. I've seen
exactly.
it. So I think that's what it is with Clemson and Dabble. We've been talking about this for a long
Mystique.
time. The mystique is gone,
Mystique.
and that
Well, no,
whole
I mean, I'm saying the reason Cape Klubnik gets the recognition or the hype is because it's Clemson.
Clemson, because Deshaun Watson, and then you had Trevor
Sure.
Lawrence and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the offense has been very stale over there for years. Years. I don't know. I feel like Dabble, his theory of I don't want to go into the portal. Even his offense is kind of stale. I just don't get it. It reminds me of an old stale offense. And Klubnik has the attributes that you want in most quarterbacks, right? But I'm looking at him. He's a 4-year starter, and I see steady improvement, but nothing to the point that I'm like, oh man. I love their defense. I love the defense. The defensive tackle Wood. He should be a top 10 pick if he's not already. I have to look him up. But I like the defense. I love the corner. I just don't like their offense. And I've been saying that about Clemson for years. The offense seems
They haven't
stale.
had a dynamic playmaker in quite a while.
Yeah.
I mean,
Who's the last one?
ETN was good, right? But running backs, you're not getting special running backs pretty much anymore in the league because the game has changed, right? So it's a pass happy world, college and pro. So having an elite running back in college is like having a great center in college basketball. That doesn't translate to the pros, right? You can dominate as a 7-footer, for Purdue, right? But
Yeah.
you get in the league unless you've got the ability to stretch the floor, you've got certain ball skills, what are you going to be? You're not going to be, you're not going to carry a team. That's why Wemby is special because he's unicornish, right?
Yeah.
But your traditional back to the center back to the basket center is irrelevant from the college game translating to the pros. And you've actually seen that for quite a while, but
Yep.
same holds true. Dynamic running back. So if we're saying Clemson's claim to fame has been some good running backs, that's not saying much.
No, it's not saying anything. It hasn't translated. That's a great analogy, actually, by the way. That's a great analogy. But they're in a lot of trouble. And I think that it's Miami's conference to win. I think they're the best team in that conference. I don't know where that stands nationally, but let's see, because the SEC and Big Ten are still those two conferences. All right, so staying with a team that's still kind of independent, but kind of associated with the ACC, the Fighting Irish. So the Fighting Irish lost at home to Texas A&M, the second loss of the season, starting 0-2. What's your thoughts about Marcus Freeman and those boys there?
Bad loss, and I am feeling bad for Marcus Freeman because I like the guy. I think he's a tremendous coach, great motivator. The talent's there. I question sometimes, the quarterback's decision making, but that's baffling, because they're Notre Dame again. The expectations are always high, always even when they have legitimately nothing in the tank, there's still high expectations. They're kind of like the Cowboys of the college ranks, right? Oh, this is our year. No, it's not. Let's be real.
No.
Irish
they don't
fans
match up.
Irish fans are nauseating, just like Cowboys fans. By that account,
they don't match up.
Yeah. So I mean, and I believe their schedule doesn't get much easier from here either. So, I
think that actually is. Hold on, I want to double check them because I heard they have no more rank opponents at the moment on their schedule for the rest of the year. So they lost to A&M and they lost to Miami. I don't see how they get into the playoff. All right, so they lost to Miami, lost to Notre Dame. So Purdue comes into Notre Dame, Arkansas comes to Notre Dame, Boise State comes into Notre Dame. No, they go to Arkansas, excuse me. Then they face NC State. Oh, well, USC at 20. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I'm watching it with you.
Oh, okay. Then USC is the only ranked opponent right now at 25, 25, 24 on October 18th.
Yep.
And then Boston College, Navy, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, Stanford.
So they've
What?
got the bottom half of the ACC left, although NC State shockingly good. And I'm, you know, I'm impressed by the NC State Wolfpack. I'm also excited for them because I have family who is a part of the coaching staff. So that's a good one. Navy is one of those teams. That Navy Notre Dame game is always pretty fun to watch. It's one of those games where it could go either way. So yeah, I mean, all right, so they don't have a hard schedule, but there's some teams there that they should be, and then there's some that's, I'm on the fence about. I'm just not sure with the current, iteration of the team and what I've seen. So time will
This
tell.
is this is the only thing about their schedule going forward and their lack of affiliation with our actual conference is
Hmm.
now you lost by 1 point to the number 10 A&M. You lost by 3 points to. It's not like you've been blown out, but you need, like you said, NC State to be better than most people expect, so they can rank and be ranked. And you better hope USC stays in the top 25. Then you might have a
Right.
conversation because you didn't get blown out in those two games. It was competitive games. And that's
Mhm.
why I think might be their saving grace. But they now need to depend on these other teams to be better and rank higher when they play them for it to make
Right.
sense for them to get a
Yeah, because
chance.
right now, even if they turn this thing around, it won't impress enough. That's your
It
point.
won't
Yep,
press
and I
exactly,
agree.
and that's why all this beat independent stuff is cool. You should have been to the Big Ten or the ACC by now because you would have more of an opportunity to play more ranked teams, more consistent.
More
You would have
value.
played
Yep.
Clemson, yeah, more Clemson at this point. You could bounce back for 2 losses. Now you kind of put it into other teams' hands. They have to be better. But if USC falters, NC State doesn't improve or jump into the rankings, you have no ranked wins this year. Like it's going to be really, really hard. And I got to be honest. Freeman is the type of coach, he's going to have to do a Brian Kelly. They're not, and this was Notre Dame's fan, this ain't the 80s anymore. They're not able to
Hmm.
recruit the top guys at the certain skill positions as they used to be able to.
It's a
Until
lot
you're
more
able to,
competition.
yeah, a lot more competition. So until that's why I understand why Brian Kelly left at the team that was going to go to the playoff that year. He's like, I can take the LSU job because the resources, they're able to recruit Louisiana, the South, you're able to compete with Alabama and those guys in for national championships.
Hmm.
So I think Freeman is the prime candidate. If I'm Florida, that's my number one target. If LSU falters, he's my number one target. He has to leave Notre Dame because they're which I'm not mad about. The academic restrictions hold them back for getting certain type of kids. Simple as that. Simple as that. All right, so we're gonna talk about two coaches got fired. Pry from Virginia Tech and Deshaun Foster from UCLA. What's your thoughts on those two guys?
Uh, Foster didn't even make it a year and a half, so that's pretty unfortunate. I think he may have been a little bit in over his head. Again, not much coaching experience going into that job, if memory serves. I mean, I believe he was the running backs coach uh,
Yep.
momentarily, but again, it's one of those cases where the expectations are high. They went with the name, right? From his NFL experience, but I just don't think it matched up, and I don't know what the support is there for him as a coach. So I'm not sure. I don't follow that program tremendously well. Uh, Pry, from what I gathered, again, listening to some sports talk, long overdue.
Yep.
Now, the obvious will be that they're going to consider Shane Beamer. I I don't think Shane Beamer's coming back, guys. Hokies fans, don't hold your breath. I don't think it's happening anytime soon. Now, a couple years down the road, maybe, but I just don't think it's the next solution. So I wouldn't expect it. And that program has been, that program has been off for,
Yes. Yes.
probably close to a decade now, really.
For a long time. It's been
Yeah.
a problem. If I was obviously I have to talk to Shane Beamer. I have to tell him, hey, you could be a middle of the pack team in the SEC, or you can be up there eventually with Miami and Clemson and all those teams again. It's easier to rebuild in the ACC. But
Sure.
if I'm him, I want to say as long as Sellers is coming back, because he might not leave this year for the NFL, I'm sticking with the quarterback. I can't lie. He's going to be a top 10 pick. And
Right.
so I don't know who would be. Javon would know better than me, probably, or you, who would be those candidates for that type of job. But UCLA, this is my own thing. UCLA, I always feel like when you're in a hotbed of a state like a California, you need it. This is going to sound off the wall. This is going to sound crazy. And I know what he's done and some of the racist things that came out of his mouth and all the sorts of stuff, but it seems like he's on TV again. John Gruden. I think you go and you go get you a head coach like John Gruden. You go and be like, John, you want back in coaching? I heard him say, I would love to coach college. That's the kind of guy you go. You're in LA. You're in LA. You're in California. You can start there and you can start on the West Coast. You got to go get you a big name coach. You go. You say, John, this is who you're going to run the program. Do it the way you want to do. He's going to be able to recruit guys. He's going to be able to get guys over there. The NFL experience. I think what North Carolina did with Bill Belichick, that's the guy. And again, I understand what he comes with all that stuff, but it seems like he's back on TV.
What he comes with the baggage, we as an American society tend to forget. We give you a little window, and then all is forgiven. So I think he's past that window. I think it could work. I mean, as a football mind, John Gruden's one of the most elite, right?
Special.
No question.
Special.
So from the football pure standpoint, good call. From the from the abundance of baggage part,
I
don't know if I would do it, right? But it is the LA market, and it would make a big splash. And then his recruiting, would just be the telltale story. The good thing is the competition, you're not competing with many teams out west, the Oregons of the world, Washington's still serviceable, viable schools, but the rest of the the market is pretty low.
Yes.
Right? So I think that wouldn't be a bad option.
I think also, remember, they're in the Big Ten now. You need a level of star power to compete with USC, first of all, and you're also competing with Michigan, you're competing with Ohio State, you're competing with Penn State. You need that coach that can bring eyeballs and be like, hey, no, we're taking football serious here. And we got Gruden here. We got, we're going to be able to get some quarterbacks. We're going to be able to, that's the way, you got to go for big splashes at UCLA. You cannot, no disrespect to Deshaun Foster. I know he was one of the best Bruins running backs of all time and all that BS, but he don't have the cachet in LA to make and bring those kids, especially even compete with USC. And now, forget USC, you're in the Big Ten. You got to compete. You need a big name, or if it's Urban Meyer, it's got to be someone that can change the program's profile nationally to these kids and to these kids' parents. I think John Gruden could do it. And again, I know he comes with baggage, but if he's forgiven, then let's forgive. let's move on. That's my only thing is if he's forgiven, let's move on and let's go and make this a viable program, because this is not a viable program, especially being in the Big Ten. If they were in the Pac-12, hi, whoever the hell you want. So, but you in the Big Ten,
right?
Nah, you got to go big or go home.
I agree. I want to go back to the Virginia Tech piece. So,
Go
with Pry out, the short list of names that I'm seeing, Alex Galesh, I guess how you say it, from South Florida, who has been elite in a respect. Bob Chesney over at James Madison, they have an excellent program over there. Andy Kotelnicki from Penn State. He's one of the top offensive coordinators in the country. Don't know as much about him, but that been in the upper echelon for a while. Pete Golding, he's a defensive coordinator over at Mississippi. And then here's a couple of interesting ones. You've got Jeff Monken over at Army. That's one. Here's the one I want. Michael Vick, who's a rookie coach over at Norfolk State, but obviously the legendary player at Virginia Tech. What do you think about that one?
Wow, that's a curveball. Um, so he's basically saying the Deion Sanders factor and using it at Virginia Tech. Is that what we're saying? That's what it sounds like.
That would be my thoughts, because you're not going after him for his coaching prowess. He has none.
Yeah, he has no coaching part. And I thought about this on Friday when I was watching Chiefs. I've been in my own thoughts, but I need to have my own like YouTube channel or something too. Just like do videos when I think of stuff, right? Because I thought about this. I was like, where is the Colorado experience right now? What do we consider it? What grade, Brian, will you give the Colorado experience over the first 2.5 years so far? What will you give it?
The Colorado experience, I'd give it a B minus.
Okay. Why B minus?
Because he's developed some talent. I mean, obviously Shador and Travis Hunter coming over from Jacksonville State. Um, and turning the program into a relatively winning operation. I got to give him credit for that, right? He's brought in some talent. Obviously some of it came with him. Colorado's relevant, good,
Yes, they
bad,
are.
talent. Yeah, they're relevant at least, right? Obviously,
Yes,
he's got a lot to do with that because of name recognition, star power, but nothing. They're I see them on the lineup. I'm inclined to just check in, see what's going on, right?
same.
So you got to give him credit there. Um, this is the year for him to shine as a coach, specifically because he can't rely on an all-American, all-world player like Travis Hunter. He doesn't have Shador at the helm, or even Shiloh, on the back end with the experience factor. So this is the year he's got to show and prove. And he added legendary Hall of Fame NFL
Coaches.
guys to his coaching staff. That that's an experiment in and of itself. You've got a lot of alpha egos on that team,
Yep.
in that coaching staff, and then but where are your dogs, and who's who are your shining stars?
Yes.
Jury's still out. If you're
Joe's
still
still
trying to
out.
figure out if you're still trying to figure out the quarterback situation, you know, into the season, not looking good.
Doesn't look good. I would give it for where that program was. I would say B minus, C plus, B minus. I would say that because my
Mhm.
own thing with this is that because everybody was like he should have he should have got the Florida State job. I do think there's a difference between the name and building a program because I do think me and Javon talk about that son. He hasn't really recruited the offensive lineman, defensive lineman. I think that's where you win and then you build from out. That's how if I was to build a team, you build from within and you build without. Like look at the
Oh,
Eagles.
it's in
I
the
don't think
trenches always.
it's in the trench. Yeah, Jalen Hurts is not the greatest quarterback in the league. I don't consider a top 10 quarterback, but that offensive line is the best in the league. That defensive line is one of the top 5 in the league, and we go from there. We can
Yep.
start from there. And so my thing, what you said about Michael Vick is, I think it's different from jumping from Jackson State to Colorado, which was irrelevant, to drop it to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, with some good coaching, good recruiting, could get back to the level that they were before. I don't know
Agreed.
what Michael Vick. I wouldn't bring Michael Vick in just for a name. Like who's your? And I don't like some of the moves Deion has made on the coaching staff. I think Eric Bieniemy should have been the offensive coordinator instead of the old rundown guy from the don't want to be disrespectful, from the NFL. I forgot the offensive coordinator name. I feel like
Oh, right.
you know what I'm talking about, the offensive coordinator at I
Yeah,
forgot his quick.
yeah. Yes. I can't
I'll
forget
look
his
it up. Yeah, I forgot his name. But I just feel like, are we doing it for the name, or we really believe Michael Vick can build a great coaching staff around him? That's the only way I
Right.
would do it. You have to build a great coaching staff around you. And I don't want just NFL names. I want guys who's been in the NFL, who can recruit, who does, and you could get Virginia Tech, because I don't think Virginia Tech is a bad job at all. I think it's a really good job. I would go head first for Michael Vick if you tell me, hey, but these is our coaches that we're bringing alongside him. Then that would be doable. I just
Right.
don't, or I think he should start off in a Colorado situation, prove he could, because I don't know if Deion can still coach. I gotta be real. I don't know if we'll see this year, but I
I'm
don't know.
questioning that as well. Yeah, you know. I watch his body language on the sideline. You know, you don't see second half adjustments for that team. Uh, that really suggests that he's got the buy-in. That's my thing, and his mystique is going to wear off, and particularly the fact, he's a generation there. We're a generation removed from his excellence. You know, I mean, he's a relic in terms of his athletic days, right? To
Yeah,
to
yeah,
this younger generation of players. So uh, that'll only carry you so far, which is the same, which holds true for like a Bill Belichick, right? The rings. Now, granted, they're more recent than Dion's per se, but uh, at some point, that's not going to be enough. And then you're really
yeah.
going to have to get into the minutia of coaching, making decisions, so on and so forth. Pat Shermer was the name we were looking
Pat
for.
Shermer. Yes, Pat Shermer. You got to be. This is just between building a program and being name recognition. Belichick hasn't built a program yet in North Carolina. Obviously, it's his first months on there, not even a full year. Let's
Right.
see.
And so right. I don't think Vic's the right answer there in Virginia
No,
Tech. Not yet.
not yet.
So he's in the same bucket as Shane Beamer. So, I think they need to get, so I would be open for Virginia Tech to get one of these hot young coordinators that can come in and get the football side of things back to where it needs to be.
Exactly. That's where I'm at. But Vic does a couple more years, builds his stock, then I'm all for that. But just not name recognition. I just don't believe in that
Right.
right
It
now.
would be it would be
Especially,
a bad move.
I think if there was no NIL, yes. But since it's NIL, if I'm a kid and I can get good coaching somewhere else and at SEC stage and money, I love you, Michael Vick. You probably could tell me how to get to the league, but I also can get both. Like I can get something else. But that's just me. All right. So let's go through the Lions, Ravens, and Packers. The Packers off to a hot start, 2-0, beat the Commanders last Thursday. The Ravens come bounce back with a win over the Browns, and the Lions destroy the Bears. So let's break down those three games.
Um, So yeah, the Ravens right back on the train. To be expected. Cleveland is legitimately the little brother. We've talked about their uh, bad decision making going with Flacco, and Flacco is just a shell of himself at this point. I feel bad because there's some talent on the defensive side for Cleveland that is, you're wasting some of your better years. Myles Garrett is there, right? Uh, he took the money, but he probably should have went for the opportunity to really compete uh, there. Lions were impressive because if the Lions get this thing on track, Jared Goff's he's a weapon, and he's got weapons, right? And so uh, if and then you consider, if the defense gets back to what they could have been before all the injuries, was it last year or the year before?
Last year, last year.
I think it was last year where they had all
Yep.
the injuries. Hutchinson went down. Yeah. So if they're back to form, they are they're going to push the Eagles in the NFC. So I like seeing them recover. It's just injuries matter. So health matters rather. So we'll see, right? But if they're true to form, yeah, watch out for the Lions. Uh, the Packers are scary good, both sides of the ball. I think Micah Parsons is motivated. We talked about Kelsey not being motivated. Polar opposite. Micah's got everything to prove. All the noise got to him. He's in a place that wants him. He wants to be there. He's gonna ball out and show up and show out, and he's gonna motivate those around him. And this is a year. I think Jordan Love can be sneaky good because we're not high on him, but we're also watching with a watchful eye in the sense that he was groomed as the next. And so now you've got to show and prove. And there's not a lot of pressure, but there's a lot of pressure because you've got a defense that looks great, and there's a lot of um, conversation about the Packers being a contender. So go do it.
Yeah. So I would say, Ravens. You did what you're supposed to do against Baltimore. You don't get No, against Cleveland. You don't get.
Cleveland. Yeah, not
Yeah,
impressed by that, but good to see.
Good to see from you. Did what you got to do. The Lions, I was really impressed with this aspect. Going against your former offensive coordinator, everybody's saying that the offense is not going to be the same. You put up all those points. I think that was a statement. That was like, hey, they're saying we can't do it without Ben. Let's put up some points. And they embarrassed them. I'm worried about the Bears. I thought Ben Johnson would come and bring a level of toughness to them. And Caleb Williams, I'm watching him on Sunday, man. I was like, damn, I don't want to always give Javon credit, but geez, he was right. This guy could only effectively pass when he's out of the pocket, scrambling. In the pocket,
yes,
it's a struggle for him. Like, and again, a year and some change. He needs time to develop. I'm a big believer in development. But damn, in the pocket, he can't. He's flustered. That feet is always moving. There's no like firm decision making in the pocket, and that's my concern.
So to touch on that point, this is the concern I have with football right now. Quarterbacks are not there's not enough mandate. You're not going to see another Peyton Manning because Peyton could read a defense. Quarterbacks are not relying on their IQ anymore. We've had this, and Lamar's probably part of the reason because of the dynamic of being such a dual threat, and he's not there's dual threat, then there's video game freaky scary good, and he's in that realm, right? And so the league and with creativity and the explosion of offense, everyone's shooting at that. We're not going to get a lot of that. He's lightning in a bottle. But people are trying so hard to get as close to that they're settling in this realm of dual threat. And the problem with dual threat is, it's supposed to be a balancing act, but it's very much a lot of teams are shifting towards the running aspect of the quarterback. And when that happens, it's fun to watch for us as fans. It's cool for offensive production when it's effective, but you're negating the IQ part. And I've watched so many quarterbacks make bad decisions at the line of scrimmage. Tells me they're not focusing on reading defenses anymore. They're scheming. Offenses are probably practicing and rehearsing for this is our game plan. Never thinking about when the defense adjusts or when the defense does not fall into your bucket of what you expect. The unexpected is blowing their mind, and it looks awful. On the college ranks, I see it. On the pro ranks, I see it. So this is why Archie Manning is struggling. There's a lot of reasons he's struggling, but he's not Peyton that way. He's not reading now he's young, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He should get better. But a Bryce Young we talked about, right? What's your excuse? You came out of a program that was good and dominant, and you're not reading defenses. He's supposed to be cerebral. So if he's not it, and he's not a runner, he's not lightning in a bottle, athletically, he can move. But so I'm just concerned about that.
Listen, I'll text you. I'll find it later and text it to you personally. Brady said basically the same thing you just said. Brady was on Colin Cowherd's show, and he was like, my genius was I could diagnose the defense and know what to get out of a play, check out of a play, blah, blah, blah. And I love Lamar, but Lamar, like when someone does something and then people try to replicate it, and I'm like, man, it's because of Lamar. I'm not blaming Lamar. Lamar's style is the style, but the Ravens did the smart thing and they pushed into his talents. I've just seen maybe this year and last year, Lamar going to the line, audibling out, seeing this and that. I seen a lot the first game against Buffalo. I didn't really watch the second game against Cleveland, but he's taking ownership of the thing. That was a mandate back before you could play.
Right.
That was not a mandate. So these kids are coming in, and then like CJ Stroud, for example, love CJ, had an amazing rookie year, but defense is going to change up how they play you after your rookie year. It seems like he hasn't really, and the offensive line is trash too, but he's struggling with it. And it's true. These guys could come in and have instances of stats, but defense will change, and you have to learn how to read the defenses to be a great quarterback. And I completely agree with you. Brady said the exact same thing, kind of a little different in the sense of just like you have the mental thing. You have to understand. That's what you say about Peyton. we won't ever see a Peyton Manning like that again. Peyton
No.
took ownership of everything on that football field as a quarterback. It was a beauty to watch. If you think about it, we're like, man, this guy's his own offensive coordinator. Like the time and effort, it's just really reacting. That's why we don't see a lot of good quarterback play. We'll see guys who can play in the pocket, but are they dissecting it? Are they? We don't see the mastery of the game.
Yeah, no, perfectly said.
Yeah.
There's a lot more system guys, right? And
Yes.
that's the point. A lot more of the league is system, which is probably the reason Daniel Jones is doing well now. We'll just take it as that system in New York just didn't fit his ability, or he
It's,
couldn't pick up on the system, or however you want to say that. And now he looks much better, looks much more comfortable. There's difference in talent, perhaps, but you know, uh, you see different execution. So a lot of these guys. So by that account, you're gonna see, if you're moving parts, the reason Cousins looks like something great in Minnesota, then goes to Atlanta and he's not he's a shell of himself. The guy didn't change, right? So it's system.
it's a system. Yeah. And when Brady said in that podcast, he's the only one who I see reading the defenses it's like an older guy, like a Matthew Stafford, and taking ownership of the line. But that's a different generation. The prime example I would use as this is Justin Fields. Justin Fields has been in 3 different organizations now, right, over the last couple years. And everybody's just like, he needs the right system. He needs the right system. At some point, what is a system going to do to teach you how to read defenses? You either going to learn how to diagnose how to read these defenses, or you're not going to learn how to diagnose and read these defenses. A system's not going to save you with that. And that's why I'd be like, and I again with Caleb for the first year and some change, I'm like, where's the progression? Because I'm seeing him in the pocket and he's just not decisive with the football. And we're seeing this as fans. We're not even coaches. So imagine what the NFL coaches and defensive coordinators are seeing scheming up against him. I think there's a real lack of yeah, you said it right. That's a great point. We're going to do a deep dive on quarterback play. It's not great. It's not great quarterback play. People put up numbers, but it's not great quarterback play. It's 2 different things.
That's right. Yeah, which is why I'm a fan of Aaron Rodgers in the football sense, right? He's throwback because he's a gunslinger, so that part's fun. I mean, the talent is he's on the back end of his career, obviously at this point with the age and all. He's got to have the right situation for him to really shine, but he's still got that model, right? He can still read a defense, so he's gonna dictate certain things at the line of scrimmage. He's gonna make adjustments, things of that nature, right? And it's still a beauty to watch. And uh, you know, I'm hoping we come back to that. It's kind of like, again, that analogy.
Yeah.
I love back to the basket centers.
Me too.
I grew up in the 80s, right? So I'm old school. I like pounding ground. This whole shooting threes all day, all night. Yeah, it's cool, right? Fans like it's not my thing.
I
I
don't like it.
prefer, I like a mixed bag. I
Me too.
like throw it down on the block, let them do some work, good footwork, and make it happen.
That's why
Fadeaways, drop steps.
I agree. That's why I love Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Forget all those 3-pointers. He was the best player in the league last year and won the MVP, Finals MVP, and he was just hitting you with the midi, like just get into the mid-range. Like Michael and Kobe made a living off the mid-range game.
And it was beautiful to watch.
It was beautiful. Yes. I love that about SGA. It's like people call him a foul baiter, but when he gets into that mid-post or he gets to that mid-range game, it's a beauty to see. It's beautiful to see. So I agree. I want quarterback to come back, like really good quarterbacking coming back. It was beauty before, but now it's just like you're 100% right. It's all system based. Get them in the right system. Get them in the right system. It's like, no, develop them.
Right. Make them make. And the problem is, I think furthermore to that point, kind of putting a bow on it, we're in such a microwave society. Owners want, owners are so fans want it now, right? We want to be winners now. We want a Super Bowl now. The pressure's then on the owner to deliver, and then the owner is trigger happy on his coaches. So you've got coaches who come in and they've got to put the world on fire immediately because there's a very short leash, you know. and then they're not taking the time to develop. Instead, they're focused on all of the other factors. You know, what makes us win, right? And so we get free agent talent all over the place, but we're not developing the quarterback. So you put all the shiny tools in the tool shed, and you've never showed me how to use the hammer.
Yeah, it makes makes no sense at all. But yeah,
Make no
I
sense.
makes no sense. But I do think that development is important. All right, so let's go run through the rest. Tefimo Lopez, I hope I said that right, is facing Shakur Stevenson. I didn't see it announced. I'll leave that up to you guys. What's your thoughts about the fight?
So I'm gonna be honest. I'm not as familiar with Lopez. Stevenson is a rock star waiting to happen. He's the next big thing. So if Lopez is a contender, this will be a good fight. Uh, I'm just from a pure boxing standpoint, I wish the heavyweight division was strong again. It is not. So in the interim, we're getting the lighter weights, and weight class are they in? I believe they're uh, um, middleweight, if memory serves.
I'm pretty sure the
Stevenson,
middleweight.
yeah, I
Yeah,
believe they're middleweight. So middleweight's carrying the load right now, and there was a time back in the day when that happened. Light heavyweight was carrying the load for a while. Uh, I hope it's a good fight. Um, uh, you know, I'd watch. I'd watch for sure. I'd hope it's a good fight. Stevenson, neither one's a knockout artist, but I love the purity of the sport, technique. Um, so I'd watch for sure. I think it's one to watch. On a side note, I've seen it advertised. Tank Davis is going to fight Jake Paul.
yes.
Not excited about that at all because I think Tate Davis needs to fight Lamar Roach in a rematch. Their first contest, Roach dominated Davis, um, embarrassed him personally, but Tank got the victory, or was it? Yeah, Tank got the victory, um, squeaked it out. Or no, I'm sorry, it was a draw. It was a draw, but I think that Davis got away with one there, and so by that account, I think you know the question I asked and what we were talking about earlier in the conversation, you know, that could be a saga, that could be a trilogy. That's one to watch because I think Tank is they're close enough, in skill and what have you, that the first one whet my appetite to see it again, to see if there can be a different outcome, and I legitimately believe there could be. I think Tank underestimated Roach, and so that would be fun to watch.
Do you think I was just looking up November 14th here in Atlanta actually is Tank versus Jake Paul. Do you think it's just a clear money grab by Tank to go fix this
Absolutely,
kid?
that's a money
Okay.
grab. He's taking the Mayweather book and sticking and moving to the money. So
Someone
Jake
said
Paul,
that. Go ahead.
yeah, Jake Paul, he's not. I'm not taking him seriously as a boxer. So
Okay. Someone told me this. I know no one told me this. I saw this clip. Jim Gray, who's amazing on what he does, was like, "Hey, Floyd ruined boxing because Floyd used to do the whole undefeated thing. Um, like, so he would pick and choose certain fights, certain
hmm
things to benefit, so he wouldn't go. So he'll fight someone past their prime or whatever the case may be, for the
yes,
most part, so he could keep that undefeated thing. And I was like, and I thought about it. Not only that, it used to be about the spirit of competition because they were talking about, hey, people had losses and people wanted just to fight the best. But I see fights like this, and I'm like, I don't even know boxing like that, but this is a clear money grab because why were you in your prime of your career be fighting Jake Paul unless you
right.
wanted to get a bag? Like it
Yeah,
makes no sense.
there's no validation for why this is a good fight for Tank Davis to take on.
Yeah,
It's
I think it's
purely
bad,
about the marketing.
and that's why I said we need we need Dana White or someone to take over or to develop because fights like this should not be happening while someone's still in the prime of the career. Like that's just a wasted
Right.
fight and wasted
So
time.
the theme for this conversation has been development, right? So we're yearning for developing quarterbacks, right? I'm yearning for developing amateur U.S. Let me specify, American boxing talent.
Mm,
Latin American talent is, upper echelon at this point.
Is it?
Mexico's producing, great, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, what have you. They're producing great talent. Even now, Saudi Arabia, and the Middle Eastern countries are producing talent. The undercard for Canelo Crawford featured a young man who had to get permission. Uh, there's some sort of noise coming through. What is that?
Oh, okay, let me go. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, talent. The gentleman had to get permission to come from his country to come over just to fight on that card, and he showed up and showed out, and so my point is just America needs to catch up.
Yeah.
We've lost a step. The American talent pool um, is not as exciting, and it's not as replenished as some of the other countries. So when that happens, I think boxing will turn around and become kind of relevant again. But right now, all of that talent seems to be going to UFC fighting. So
There was a point in time boxing was up there with the major sports. That's one of the it sports in the US. Um,
sure,
but those times are long gone. It's lost its
yes.
value. Too many classes, too many weight. The championships, it's just it's bad. All right, so let's run through these last two. So Friday out
Hmm.
west, we're talking about the games: Houston, Colorado. I think we touched a little bit. Arizona, Kansas State, New Mexico, UCLA. What was your thoughts on any of those games, and do you see any of them?
So I'm surprised by New Mexico. I mean, UCLA, clearly there's some trouble there, hence the reason Foster is out. New Mexico's always one of those teams that's sneaky good, right? And so I will be moderately watching them. They're not ranked. They're not in contention talks, but they're a team that produce uh, their fair share of NFL talent over the years, and so I'm impressed. They're fifth in the Mountain West right now, right? So they're not world beaters by any stretch, but um, 35 points is 35 points, and it bears note.
Yeah. I would say, yeah, UCLA, that was the nail in the coffin for Foster. You come and you get this big kid from Tennessee, which we talked about last week. I don't know if you want it, but his dad telling him, "Hey, leave Tennessee," which should have beat Georgia the other day, but and go back home, get the money. Not all money is good money. My mom always told me this. All money is good money. So you leave a good situation in the SEC to go to the Big Ten, and you're getting killed. And your hopes of being an NFL prospect has dwindled. But he's still young. He could bounce back. But he seems like a prime candidate who will be leaving UCLA and transferring to another school. One of these I'm going to Ford schools in 4 year type of guys. Not surprised by Arizona. No, actually, I am. Kansas State was ranked at the beginning of the year, has faltered really bad. Two losses already. Iowa State, Arizona. Not a good start for Kansas. And like we talked a little bit about Colorado. Um, Big year for Dion. I think they have to make a bowl game after last year. And I just need to see some development of other players. Like if you're the guy, like I think Julian, the kid from Georgia, where I'm at, again, you're not going to win a national championship this year. Why is he not playing? He's a 5-star recruit. Let him play. Let him develop, and let's go from there. That's why I'm a big believer in that. Let's see him develop, and let's see what Coach Prime and those guys can do in Colorado. But not impressed how the season has started for them over in Colorado. Any other
Um,
things?
Yeah, so Arizona's got the quarterback for Arizona, Noah Fifita, I guess is how you say it.
Yeah,
He 22-year-old guy. So there's some value in the fact that he's a seasoned quarterback, and time will tell where his stock is and what plays out there. But that goes back to that point, right? The development. We can excite all about the flash in the pan, but sometimes it's just good old experience. I know what I'm doing under the center or behind the center. I know what I'm doing, right? And so when it plays itself out, that's what you get. You get those kinds of results, and they beat a once ranked Kansas State team. So Saturday threw for 178 yards, no touchdowns. The running game was really more impressive. Ishmael Mahdi, nearly 200 yards rushing. Uh, Arizona is one of those teams that I'm always watching as well because they're always in the conversation. They're 3-0, so wouldn't be
Kind of
surprised
waiting.
to see them win that division. Even currently, like I said, they're third in the Big 12.
I gotta say this, and we can move on after this. The Big 12, definitely the fourth league out of the big.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not.
So you've got SEC number one,
Yeah, Big Ten number two, ACC number three, and then the Big 12. And it's
and
a
then Big.
big gap between the ACC and the Big 12. I gotta be real.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, it's a
I agree.
big gap. Like it's not even close. Like that, them losing Oklahoma and losing Texas really, really has
Yes.
made that conference a afterthought. All
Do
right,
you think they'll
lastly,
realign
but
again? Sorry. Do you
oh
think
yeah,
they
yeah,
will realign the conferences again?
absolutely, because there's gonna be more money out there. Like
Sure.
there's no loyalty in this stuff. Like they won't do it because of common sense, like geographically, like UCLA in the Big Ten does
No.
not make sense to me. Like it just doesn't. It does not make sense. But will they do it because there's going to be more money eventually? And I wouldn't be surprised if the Pac 12 gets developed again by some billionaire or some money. You know what I mean? There's always money out here. We want to bring the Pac
Right.
12. They're going to always follow the money. So I don't, do I see it anytime soon? Maybe, because if the playoffs change, which it should change, to be honest with you. I know some people are not a big proponent of it. I do think that big SEC and Big Ten, excuse me, should get more playoff teams because it's just better conferences. So like I don't want to see the
Right.
best and the best at the end of the year, right? And so I do think that naturally some of these teams, if they develop, just say Colorado gets really, really good, hey, we have a better shot to consistently make the playoff in the Big Ten or something like that.
Agreed.
Why wouldn't they? Like actually, Colorado is more of a Big Ten school than UCLA geographically.
Yeah.
Geographically, I'm talking about. But
Geographically. Yep.
yeah, I just don't. I again, we kind of gonna sound like old heads on this, but I used to love when the Big East used to be the Big East, and the Pac-12 used to be the Pac-12, and the SEC used to be. But when Texas left and Oklahoma's left to go to the SEC, I was like, I'll never forget this. I was like, nothing would be the same. Nothing would be the same,
No.
and it's true.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah. Well, you lose
they
the
changed.
rivalries. Yeah, you just lose the luster of certain matchups that you anticipate and you expect, and it just isn't the same when it's no longer a conference rival.
Yeah, I think eventually they hire a commissioner in college sports or for football side and try to bring some normalcy back to it because I do think college sports has lost its luster in the sense of I'm not mad at people getting paid at all, especially all this much money in the university is. But I just think with people, if we
There's
talk
no
about development,
regulation.
there's no
Yeah.
regulation. There's no development of especially quarterbacks. If I don't play, I'm transferring and I'm gonna be in this system and I'm gonna do here. You gotta give me more money. I gotta do that. Then they get to the league, they ain't ready to play. They haven't sat anywhere and developed or in
Nope.
chemistry or been consistent. Um,
Precisely.
I don't think it's where we're at right now. I was all for NIL. It's just the way it's just no regulations. It's kind of made
Yeah. It's
for
not. It's not.
bad.
Yeah. It's not. That's it. It's not regulated. So you're doing more of a disservice to these young men and women.
Exactly, because you're gonna face adversity in life. You can't just run away
Hmm.
from it all the time. You gotta stay and figure this crap out. All right, so we're gonna go to our last subject, Tom Brady in the latest. So last night, Brady was in the booth during the Monday night game, and he also was in Kansas City the night before. So people online are basically screaming, "Hey, how can you be an owner? How can you be a broadcaster?" And also, he signed up for the Saudi Arabia League with Saquon Barkley, a bunch of other players, Justin Jefferson, Flag Football League. I think it's next spring. Um, what's your thoughts on Tom Brady before I go?
Tom Brady's the king of collusion, the king of controversial things that he gets away with his $1 million smile. So nothing he does surprises me. If Tom Brady wanted to um, vote himself MVP in his playing days and get it, it would not have surprised me. It's Tom Brady. I am not the biggest Tom Brady fan. You probably can tell by that. I have enough reasons to not like him as a Ravens fan. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I don't, I was always curious about how he'd be able to do both, uh, you know, how he'd be able to do both ownership and broadcasting. So this just plays right into it. And people are going to yell, but there's not going to be much of a change.
So my thing is, these guys, there's what, 32 teams in the league, 30, 32, something like that.
Yes.
And 31 of them voted him in as an owner, knowing that he already signed a $375 million deal with Fox. What's the problem? These guys, and like, I know the outrage is like, well, it's going to be collusion, it's going to be all this stuff like that. I see what you're saying, but my point is that these are 31 successful billionaires who run NFL organization, run other businesses. So they're and he owns 10% of the Raiders, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you thought it was going to be any level of, did the optics look good yesterday, him being in the booth with Chip Kelly and them? No, but there was no rules or regulations. You can't do that. So you have to set guardrails up. 31 of billionaires was like, we'll let you in. It's not like he's taking over full ownership of the team, but of course, if I have 10%, I put $100 million in, and I'm the greatest quarterback of all time, I'm going to help offensive game plans. I'm going to help
in
draft
in my product. Yeah.
Exactly. So when I saw it, I thought it was a big deal. I'm like, when people made a big deal this morning, I'm like, well, these guys voted him in. Then you should just say you can't own the team and be a broadcaster.
We shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, like
we shouldn't be surprised by anything he does. Yeah.
No, so if I'm him, and on the broadcast, it was like, oh, he talks to Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll 2 to 3 times a week. Why wouldn't he? He breaks down film and he sends film in. Why wouldn't he? He owns the team. He wants that team to win. He wants to win a championship. And they still lost 20-3 or whatever the score was yesterday. That team lacks a great quarterback and lacks some talent. It's not like this is like they said the next week he's calling the Cowboys-Bears games this week. And then the week after, the Bears are facing the Raiders. And they're like, oh, that's a conflict of interest. Then why do you let him become an owner?
Yeah.
Like,
now, personally, I don't think he's going to be influential enough. It's not him doing this in the Patriots organization, right? Or no, let me retract. He's not benefiting the Chiefs or the Ravens or the Bills, right? One of these teams. So at the end of the day, I don't think it makes as big a splash personally, but it's something for the onliners, to rant and rave about, particularly if he's going against your favorite team. But I think it's much ado about nothing ultimately.
Yeah, like, and they have regulations. He can't go to the production meetings. It's only virtual. He can't go view practice. Like, and coaches usually, smart coaches are not going to like give up their game plan to a broadcaster. Like, it's just it's not going to. I think it's minimal, but this is when it really is going to be hit the fan. Is when the Raiders are better or good, and he has to call a Raider game. Or he is doing a Super Bowl with the Raiders, or the Raiders. That we don't care now because the Raiders are going to be a top 10 team in the draft.
Sure,
the conversation is going to intensify in a few years if they start becoming good.
Yes,
and that's just what it is. But
it'll be interesting.
It'll be real interesting. And then got him being the Saudi Arabia team. Get your money. Brady's 48, 49 years old. I'm never mad if someone getting his money. And I lived in New England all those years.
Yeah, it's outside of the realm of the NFL, so it's comparable. Maybe not as exact, but Giannis winning the championship with his Greek team recently, and then making the statement that it was one of the best things that ever happened in his life. Never mind the fact he won an NBA championship, but
no, exactly. But the way it's your country, so maybe that's and it's different. But I'm not mad at people. The only thing I would say this is the only thing. It's not a bad thing. Saudi Arabia is coming for these leagues in the sense of the money they could offer players. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be the next NFL, but just how they're involved with the WWE now, how they involved with
Hmm.
this. They're big. If I was ownership, there has to be some. I think it's a 10%. You can only have 10% of outside, like countries or something like that, invest in teams.
Yes,
Because if
put
they
some
if they ever
things in place.
yeah if they ever got to own a baseball team, there was no salary cap or something like that. Woof, that money is endless over there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
precisely.
Middle East, the money is different. But all right, so that's our topics for today. Man, do you got anything going on you want to talk about off you, or like just on your mind? We end the show like that. Just any topics or anything.
No, this was a great show. We missed Javon's energy, his radical takes.
Yes, my guys definitely has radical taste.
He definitely has some radical takes. I tried to uphold, but you and I have a lot more chemistry and cohesion in terms of our thoughts and rhyme and thinking. Um,
Yeah,
I bet we have probably some differences in individual players because
yeah,
yeah.
life.
How old are you, by the way?
I am 41.
Oh, we're not too far in age. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
so
yeah,
you and I are closer than Javon. Javon and I have differences even though but because, he's half my age.
yeah,
so
yeah. John's a young and young and
so
young and yeah.
but you and I are a little closer. So now I understand why there's a lot more synergy there. So but no, this is a great show. I'm always excited to do these shows. Uh I am looking forward to the slate. What's the marquee game for you this week?
Um, Geez, I don't even know what the marquee game for the NFL or college. Let me look it up real quick.
College.
College game, college schedule. Because it's Tuesday, so it's already college will be back in like a couple of days. I'm like, we just finished the NFL last week. Um, well, yesterday. All right, so Texas Tech, Utah, Oklahoma, Auburn is gonna be really good. Illinois, Indiana. So out of the best, Miami, Florida, just because rivalry game, but who knows? I would say Oklahoma, Auburn will be a really good game for. And the NFL, I'm gonna look at the NFL schedule real quick. Um, Miami versus the Bills on Thursday. I'm good with that. Bengals, Vikings, no. Colts, Titans, no. Raiders, Commander. Eagles, Rams, Sunday at 1 o'clock.
Eagles
That's
Rams is definitely one to watch.
that's definitely two teams. I think personally, and put Green Bay in that conversation. Two of the 3 or 4 best teams in the AF and the NFC.
Agreed.
And Jets, Bucks, no. Cowboys, Bears, I don't care about that. Giants, Ravens, Lions next Monday will be really good.
Yes, it should be. I personally think that there's a that's one of it's going to make you laugh. That's one of the occasions when I think Harbaugh excels over his coaching opponent. Dan Campbell's good. He's a motivator. I don't know how much a coach executionally he is.
Tactician,
And
yeah.
yeah, yeah, tactician. Well said. I think he relies on his coordinators heavily, and that rightly so. So when it comes to that, I think Harbaugh will at least make some pivotal decisions that will one up Campbell usually, and that's the difference.
Okay, that's wow. So you don't give Dan any credit for turning that
Uh,
organization.
no, not yet,
Wow.
because he
Okay.
hasn't got over the hump. Because he hasn't got over the hump. Now, I give him a pass for last year because of the injuries, but he was in strong contention for the last 2 years. So
So you say over the hump like Super Bowl appearance, Super Bowl
yeah,
win.
they've got to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. I do think the last 2 years were their best chance to make the Super Bowl. I don't see them making the bowl this year, but we'll see. We'll see. But it's a good game, not great games in both game level. But the Rams Eagles,
Yes,
that's my game to watch at 1 o'clock
that's the
on
game of the
Sunday.
week. Yeah, so it'll be
Yeah,
fun. We'll we'll,
yeah, that'll
we'll,
be.
we'll review it next week.
We'll definitely review on Tuesday. All right, so you guys like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Thank you for listening. We out.
Peace.